Hello and welcome everyone, my name is Meepolis and this is Literally Graphic. And today we are talking about one of the few graphic novel adaptations I have any time for, and that is Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower, adapted for the page by Damian Duffy and illustrated by Jennings, and published by Harry N. Abrams in January 2020. For those keeping score back at home, yes, this is the same team that tackled Butler's book Kindred in January 2017. In today's recommended Black booktuber is Ben Reads Books, a recent follow for me. Ben not only talks about books, but also writes science fiction and fantasy books, so he does make videos about that as well. I'm ranking him here because despite being horrible at commenting, we did have a brief exchange a while back about Octavia Butler. As far as warnings go, this is a dystopian, so family death, both blood and chosen. Dogs are all feral and attack and are killed. Brief instances of non-sexual nudity, chests and butts. Stigmatization of drug use, and cannibalism. Moving on to describe the creative team, while it's possibly easy to miss in my conversations about graphic novels, because she wasn't originally a graphic novel author, Octavia Butler is a longtime favorite of mine ever since I picked up Fledgling in high school, and if you're interested in a book about black polyamorous vampire scientists, you should definitely check it out. It was only a few years later that I also realized Orson Scott Card actually talks about her Pattern Master series in his book Characters and Viewpoints. Obviously, I have no kind words for that hateful man anymore, but it was one of those weird coincidences that amuses me. Born in 1947, Butler died far too soon in 2006. Apparently very shy, Butler was heavily bullied in school. A passionate writer since an early age, Butler faced a lot of obstacles to becoming a successful writer. But she continued to work on her writing while earning her keep in other ways, attending workshops and publishing and gathering notoriety until her death. Still criminally underappreciated, in my humble opinion. Winner of both Hugo and Nebula Awards in 1995, she was the first science fiction writer of any race to receive the MacArthur Foundation Genius Grant. The adapter, Damian Duffy, is, according to Goodreads, a, quote, cartoonist, scholar, writer, curator, lecturer, teacher, and Glyph Comics award-winning graphic novelist, end quote. He is a faculty member of Urbana-Champaign and does things like publish academic essays in comic form. Illustrator Jennings proved somewhat difficult to track down an official biography of, but looking through some dated articles via University of Buffalo, it appears as if he's been a faculty member of both the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign and the University of Buffalo. He has spent quite some time, quote, focusing on the analysis, explication and disruption of African American stereotypes in popular visual media, end quote. He also worked on the Black Comics African American Independent Comics Arts and Culture, and co-curates a lot of different shows that spotlight various Black artists. Sounds like a very exciting guy. The Goodreads description is as follows: a searing vision of America's future. In the year 2024, the country is marred by unattended environmental and economic crises that lead to social chaos. Lauren Olamina, a preacher's daughter living in Los Angeles, is protected from danger by the walls of her gated community. However, in a night of fire and death, what begins as a fight for survival soon leads to something much more, a startling vision of human destiny and the birth of a new faith. Comparing the art to the Kindred adaptation, obviously the artist is the same, but I didn't find it quite so overwhelming visually. My negative side wonders if this has to do with reading it frame by frame digitally rather than parsing it page by page physically, but I don't know. My gut says it's a bit more pared down and more pleasing to my eye, which is obviously super important. Not. As the story does revolve around Lauren's religious speculations, there is a lot of quotes and excerpts included alongside the art. As always, rereads and digital comics are both a bit hard for me, but that is a me problem and not a book problem. It's a super timely read, not only for the actual timeline of the book being in the 2020s, but also just because of how prescient it feels. This does fall into my appreciated subgenre of the, quote, hippies kind of winning, or at least that might does not make right at the end of the world. I feel like the past few months of mutual aid and caremongering has perhaps shown us that humanity can be even more compassionate, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. ? Gender and race are both pretty central to Lauren's mission with Earthseed. She talks several times about needing to create a diverse community of people. That said, things end up feeling pretty heterosexual. My biggest complaint is the extreme drug stigmatization that goes on. I mean, it's not unique to her, but it's unfortunate. Maternal drug use is also the reason why Lauren is disabled, and that certainly brings up a lot of bad connotations. Class is less of a monolith, and all the characters do rough it, but it does feel like there is judgment there. Kind of hard to untangle from the general fear of the outsider that is part of the subgenre. Because I'm contrarian, Parable of the Sower alongside Fledgling are my lowest rated butlers compared to Dawn, Wildseed, and Bloodchild. I did end up rating Kindred higher after my second time through. I think I might actually rate this graphic edition 1 star higher than the original because the visuals are very nice. 4 out of 5 stars it is. Bye y'all, keep reading and resist white supremacy. And as always, Literally Graphic is recorded on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation. I live here because of British colonization, indigenous genocide, and more geographically specific, Treaty 13, also known as the Toronto Purchase, which was finalized in 1805 between representatives of the Crown and certain Mississauga peoples. This treaty was a lie and has since been broken many times over. Saying so reflects only my own small steps towards knowing the truth and does nothing for reconciliation.